With over 20 years of combined recruitment experience, Bastion is your trusted advisor for sourcing leaders. Technical experts in supply chain recruitment, Bastion uses a proven customer-focused delivery. Speak to a consultant today for your recruitment needs. Bastion, experts in sourcing leaders that deliver change.
Hi everyone, you're watching another episode of Trade Australia. I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffelsz. Today's episode is all around all the current situations around port, infrastructure, product sourcing, and we've got a fantastic lineup of guests to talk to you today. To kick it all off, I'm joined in studio here in Melbourne by George Hadjiyannakis from GDA Australia. Hi George.
Hi Lawrence, how are you?
Good mate, great to see you again.
Likewise.
Tell us about, we've had a whole range of situations now around the country with supply chain disruptions, people who can't work in warehouses and reduced staffing levels, COVID safe plans. As GDA, first of all, tell us about GDA for the viewers who haven't seen you, but then I want to ask you about how that's impacted your business.
So GDA, we're a container unpack service company where we'll come out to the client's premises and basically come and unpack your containers for you, so you don't have to use your own staff. Which is very cost effective. It's a lot better for WorkSafe as well. And we'll just unpack it and then we leave at a fixed price. So it's a very simple process. Yeah.
And a lot of companies now who have lost staff or they've had to scale back their business, the outsourced solution or even in-source, because you can come to their place, is it's a smart solution and you take care of all that COVID safe plans as well.
Absolutely. And we even help the clients with organising the COVID safe plans. We make sure everyone's following the proper regulations. We go as far as we'll come onto the premises to unpack the containers. We don't even need to use lunch rooms or tea rooms. The boys will go and even have lunch in their own cars. We just want to keep everyone separated while this is all going on. So yeah, it's
really important. I think one of the things that we've noticed in supply chain in a broad sense across Australia now is that as workforce has shifted, we've got people who might have been in hospitality coming to a warehouse to do pick and pack. There's a real skill and a real smart way of doing things safely with container packs and unpacks. So, one of the reasons I want to bring you on the show today was to highlight that you need to leave this sort of stuff to experts and don't risk your business for safety or anything like that.
Yeah, look, unfortunately, a lot of people believe that just picking up a box out of a container is easy to do. And it can be easy to do if you've done it before. It's like landscaping. Yeah. If you're a good landscaper, you know what you're doing. Boxes can weigh from 5 kilos or half a kilo, can go up to 80 kilos for a barbecue. Look, you're really putting yourself at risk when you call a labour agency to come out to unpack your container, and they're just going to send someone who's just been stacking shelves or been making sandwiches for other people. Yeah. They wouldn't know how to pick up the box safely. An 80 kilo box, if they drop it, and you're going to have issues. Yeah. All right, so they haven't got the proper training, and by law, even if you do outsource it to a labour agency, you still have to provide that training for those people that are coming onto your site. Yeah. Now, I know for a fact 95% of people who outsource their container unpacks to labour agencies do not train those staff. They just assume those staff are already pre-trained, and they're not. So,
and I think the other thing, George, is that if you're looking at an outsourced labour solution, that's typically an hourly rate, whereas yours is fixed price.
Ours is fixed price.
And that's a game changer in the sense of if I'm working out my cost, my landed cost, my freight, duties, taxes, unpack, and it's all fixed price, then I've got a much clearer visibility and control of the way my product actually goes to market.
100%.
So tell me about, I know that you guys do Australia-wide, you've got all that capability. What are the sort of things that, you've experienced with, you've already had highly skilled trained staff. How's COVID changed? Obviously you talked about they have to have lunch in the car and do a bit more nuances, but what else have you noticed with the COVID situation?
Well, we've noticed a lot of warehouses have done split shifts. So quite a few of our larger clients, and they will ask to have the amount of guys that they're having on their site through us not to work on any other sites. Right, yeah. And we can allow that for them. So they're not going from one place to another place. Yeah. It's the last thing you need. It was the same. You don't want to have the same issue that happened with the old homes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So we try to keep our men minimised on the sites. and we do that by working with the clients. So
yeah, that's smart. The other thing that I've noticed as well over the last couple of weeks, especially, we've seen a lot of port disputes and a lot of banked up delays with containers trying to come off the boats into the wharf. Have you had experience with that? Has that been a bottleneck for you guys as well?
Yeah, look, it has been a bottleneck. We've had a lot of clients, especially over the last couple of weeks with the disputes going on. People are saying they have containers coming in tomorrow. And even new people that want to use our services, they'll ring up and they say, look, we don't know whether we want to use the company to unpack our container, but the agency I'm calling up, if the boys come out, I'm going to have to pay for them to stand here if the container's not here. And they need to be called the day before or 2 days before. So especially during that time, what we've said to pretty much all our clients and all people that wanted to use our services, we made an allocation where you can call us on the day when your container has arrived, and we'll guarantee boys will be there for you within a couple of hours to do that container. So there's none of these extra charges of people just standing around doing nothing and getting paid for nothing. I mean, we've got a lot of people getting paid by the government to stay at home, and it's hard for people to get workers in, even good workers. We're lucky we haven't had to employ any workers because all our guys are pretty much full-time unpacking containers for us. So we're able to move them around when we need to get them to that site as soon as our containers arrive. So it saves significant costs for the client.
Look, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer from a point of cost and risk mitigation as well. One thing COVID has really exposed for supply chain is increased risk for freight, logistics, warehousing, but labour risk as well. We see people now working from home. There's a whole range of other risk assessments that they need to do, and unpacking containers, as we discussed before, has got a real skill, and so you don't hurt yourself, but you also don't damage product, you don't put it away on the pallet properly. Even incorrect palletisation takes up a whole range of extra space.
Absolutely.
When you're trying to put stuff away in a warehouse. So I've seen you guys in action. I see how meticulous you are in actually putting apart the SKUs. You actually unpack by SKUs, and that when you see that as someone who understands the optimisation within a warehouse versus casual labour who'll just put stuff on pallets and you can't see an optimised pallet, that's a major difference.
And look, the efficiency of it as well, Lawrence. A lot of people will ring up to users who have never used us before, and they say, look, can you supply a forklift driver? And look, we can, and we'll say to them, look, it's better off if you have one. If you can use your own forklift driver, it'd be fantastic. It's more cost effective for the client as well. And they'll say, well, yeah, but the people who do our containers take 6 hours to do it. So I'll ask them what's in that container, and I know for a fact we're only going to take an hour and a half to do that same job. And then they try it, they see it, and off we go, and we end up taking that business there on forward. So, and that's the difference with having skilled and unskilled people. If someone doesn't know how to do something, it's going to take them a lot longer to do it. And when they're paid by the hour as well, it takes a lot longer. There is no rush. There's no need to get the job done efficiently and quickly as well. And it just drags out the whole day, and the poor clients have lost their fork driver for a whole day. And now we can do 4 containers for that client in the same day instead of just the one that they were getting done.
Look, I think that these days, especially now as we re-emerge out of this COVID situation, companies have to be more cost-effective, more efficient, smarter in the way they do business, make sure they manage their people and space around them properly. So, it really has showcased and highlighted the expertise that GDA has to offer. So congratulations on what you've been doing and leading the way in doing a safe practice there with the COVID safe plans as well. So, mate, it's always great to see you coming along. What's the best way for people to get in touch and reach out and say, George, look, I want to talk to you about unpacking or even packing some of the export containers?
Absolutely. Best way, just call me direct on 0419 392 090. Or you can call 1300 GDA LAB. And what we're trying to do as well at the moment, we're trying to help. So the car industry has copped a massive whack, especially in Victoria. So we're affiliated with a couple of car manufacturers, and what we're going to do is people are unpacking containers. We're doing car giveaways to those clients as well. So when you unpack a certain amount of containers, we can then offer you a car as a gift for that work that's being done too. And that's only going to happen through your company as well.
Great. No, thanks, George. That's awesome. Look,
we're just trying to help all the local people.
look, I think that's what people need. They need extra support as much as they can, and really work with the people who can offer them really smart, cost-effective solutions. So, always congratulations, George.
Thank you.
And, mate, great to see you again. We'll have you back on the show very soon. And especially as we lead up this, prolonged Christmas rush, let's keep in touch and get you back on to give us an update.
Much appreciated.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So there you heard from George Hadjiyannakis from GDAOz.com.au. From GDA Australia, they'll really look after you when it comes to all your container unpack needs, or even export packing needs as well. Reach out. Stick around after the break. We'll be talking to Raffaele Sellaro for NYC Logistics over in Perth. Tough.
With over 20 years of combined recruitment experience, Bastion is your trusted advisor for sourcing leaders. Technical experts in supply chain recruitment, Bastion uses a proven customer-focused delivery. Speak to a consultant today for your recruitment needs. Bastion, experts in sourcing leaders that deliver change.
Hi everyone, you're watching the Trade Australia show. I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffelsz. Today we're going to talk to Raffaele Sellaro, the owner and founder of NYC Logistics over in Perth. We've got so much stuff going on with freight forwarding and cargo around the country. We want to ask Raffaele to get back on the show, talk to us and inform all of you as our viewers about all the current status of freight forwarding and shipping around the country. Raffaele, thanks for joining us, mate. Always good to see you.
My pleasure. Good morning, Lawrence.
Raffaele, look, as I've said in the intro, there's so much stuff going on globally around supply chain, pandemic and, cargo. But then we've got our own domestic issues here in Australia as well, which, it's important that we increase some of the awareness around the challenges so that importers and exporters are prepared, but also they can start to adjust where they need to across their business to allow for the increased charges, the port disruptions, the system outages. So I want to touch on a couple of those points one by one, if that's okay with you.
Yes, please. Yeah.
So, Raffaele, look, let's start with the system outages. It's been thrown everyone into disarray recently. I know that CMA CGM, it's gone on, I think, for about a week from memory, that the system went down and everyone was challenged to get some DOs. What's been your experience with NYC and your clients?
Yeah, as you mentioned, the CMA CGM website was cyberattacked 2 weeks ago, and what pretty much meant that you had no access to track any shipments, if they've left, arrived, anything at all, and that's also including DOs as well. So obviously when the vessel arrives or departs, you need to get bills of lading. We are not able to access that, or anybody. So the once they went down, they put in a additional manual work. So you had to actually call CMA and wait on the line for about an hour to get through to customer service. And at that point, we would find out or get an understanding where it is, the shipment, and if we needed an EDO release. Now, if you're doing hundreds of containers a week or thousands, you can imagine how many times you'd be basically on the phone all day just with CMA. And of course, there's multiple other shipping lines that you're working with as well. But unfortunately for them, they were cyber attacked. Nothing anyone could possibly do. And we just relayed on to our customers and advise them, every day that we will try and attempt to get an understanding where their shipments are, and please just be patient. We just have to work with this at the moment. Yeah,
that's one of the things I want to raise with you, Raffaele, is that, I know that such a great job NYC do with your customer service and how much pride you and time and resources you invest in proper customer service. But now more than ever, that importers, exporters, they're challenged with space availability. Air freight is not non-existent, but it's so minimal that it's really a struggle and expensive to get anything on cargo. Then you've got massive rate hikes from a domestic level as well, and freight space level. It must be an immense job for you to educate and work with your customers to restructure some of their supply chain and freight movements around different pricing and vessel planning, cargo planning. What's the sort of toll been on your customer service team as well?
It's been quite intense. We try to do our best and just be transparent with the information. So when all these issues come about, we just go to our clients and let them know news by news, and advise them, this is the situation, this is where you're at the moment, where can we go with this particular shipment or or your upcoming shipments. And that's all we can do at the moment. It's not us, it's not them. It's just unfortunately it's life, and we have to work around it. So we just tell it as it is. And lucky for us, the clients that we're engaged with understand the situation we're in and they are, and the world. So as long as we communicate, I think everyone, and we stick together and stay positive, we'll get through this. But there is challenges, and that you just got to accept where we're at the moment, and all we can do is move forward and say, okay, hopefully, once we're out of this pandemic, we look back and go, okay, how can we do this better in case something else happens again? And that's something that our industry needs to improve, is really get into the IT side of things a bit more than where we're currently at.
Yeah, agreed. And
process EDOs and so forth. We need to do better than that.
I totally agree with you, Raffaele. I think the integration piece, the better visibility piece across the industry instead of just individual silos is really important to learn from. But I want to commend you and congratulate you on the work you're doing, because what you've just mentioned about how you're communicating with your customers gives them that level of support and level of flexibility that you as a freight forwarder, this is where the work that you're doing stands out, because it's in times of crisis that good freight forwarders really come to the top and come to the surface, because people think, all a freight forwarder does is book cargo for me, right? But that's a very minimalistic or simple view. But when the proverbial hits the fan and you have to quickly juggle shipments, work with suppliers, work with transport companies, you guys have really done an incredible job to keep importers and exporters informed, give them options, and then really show them how valuable your services are. So congratulations on all that, mate. It's a real
pleasure. I mean, we love what we do, and a lot of people in this industry love what they do, and they're very passionate. And and that's all we can do is just again be transparent with the information we're getting and relay it on as carefully as possible, but not to sweeten it up at all. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
What's happened? What's our next step? How can we get out of this with minimal costs and damage?
I want to touch on that cost part. So we've seen a massive a range of rate hikes and spikes across the actual freight and cargo movements as well, but even domestically in port handling charges and other surcharges. How have customers manage that? They have to remodel the whole cost to serve.
Yeah, speaking on behalf of the clients that we look after, they've got really no other option, and they've just got to accept it. Yes, I believe everyone has to make a profit, shipping lines and so forth. But because of we have air freight carriers that operate in I think maybe 15% capacity, people have just switched over from air freight to sea freight. So it's caused this huge demand now on the sea freight, and then you've got China, who's reporting no COVID and running at full capacity, but you got the other countries like India, Bangladesh, Europe, in still very heavily infected, so they're not operating at full capacity. So I think most people, what we've seen, clients of ours who normally ship out of other areas and now gone to China and started bringing stuff out of China. So China's just gone through this massive, huge increase. A couple of months ago, so we've had really peak season traditionally. Late September, October, November, December. We've had it since June, and we've less capacity coming into the market. Shipping lines have sort of probably taken advantage of that, but also trying to meet the demand, the shortage of equipment. So I get why they're increasing the rates, but this is what we're with at the moment when it comes to China. Europe and other countries have increased rates a little bit. However, China's just gone. I haven't seen this sort of pricing since I think 2010, when the Australian market was really strong.
Wow.
But we're now in a pandemic and the prices are at the same levels.
What's your opinion, Raffaele? Do you think that sometime next year that might normalise and rates will come down again, or do you think that this is sort of here to stay for quite some time?
I believe it depends on what happens with the air freight and the borders open and air freight's able to move, especially internationally. Then it should taper off, but not back to the levels we saw last year. I don't think that's going to come back. I think if anything, it maybe drop down 30%, but we won't know until it all depends on air freight. What happens with the the air freight and the borders.
Yeah, true. And on a domestic level, we've had a whole range of disruptions, especially in New South Wales, as we've seen. That's impacted the whole country, especially the East Coast. But that has been essentially put on ice for a while. That's going to still rear its head again later in the year, around Christmas time, we suspect. What are your thoughts there? Do you think that's going to be resolved amicably, or do you think that's going to have another massive impact on trying to get cargo off the boats?
Well, I hope so. I hope it gets resolved. Again, we have to stick together and come together and work through this, not work against each other. And I understand from the maritime union side that they want a pay increase. Great, everyone does. I just think we need to sort of look at that probably a little bit later on. But that's not me to decide. But until this is resolved, we're going to continue to see delays, and it's been a ripple effect. Here in WA, we're operating 5 days behind now because of these industrial strikes as well. So it's affected not just Sydney, but all of the states. Not as obviously impacted as Sydney, but it's just becoming a national thing, not just based on Sydney. And I just hope that the terminals and the unions come together and say, okay, look, this is the target. Let's just work on this, and let's work towards a nice resolution so we can all move forward.
Yeah, agreed. One final thing I want to ask you today, Raffaele. I know we'll get you back on over the next couple of weeks as well, just as a regular, catch up as our resident freight forwarding expert and a proud partner of ATLC. So, it's great to pick your brains for the audience benefits, so they can really stay up to date with all the machinations of freight forwarding and all these changes. But we've all talked about and we've seen around Australia the massive increase of e-commerce because people, especially here in Melbourne, are locked down and there's massive growth. That Christmas rush, is already, as you said, drawn out. So Christmas rush has started now, and we're in October because people are ordering. They know that deliveries are going to take possibly 4 weeks. Australia Post is under the pump. Have you seen a major shift or change in the way companies are looking at their imports, or they change the way that they plan and forecast their volumes?
I'm only talking on behalf of our clients. No, I haven't seen. A huge change. If anything, people have gone towards the containerized cargo. And as mentioned earlier, because of the backlog, we're looking about 2 to 3 weeks now out of China to get on the vessels. So, if any, it's just getting it worse. So, in terms of answer your question regarding e-commerce, I haven't seen a huge push towards e-commerce. More on full containerized utilization. Yeah,
great. Well, mate, it's always great to catch up, and thanks for keeping us informed with all the changes around the country and internationally as well. And it's great to have an expert like you on site to really keep all up to date. So, mate, stay safe, stay well, enjoy the sunshine in Perth, and let's touch base again very soon, and we'll get another update from you then.
Thank you for having me, Lawrence, and I wish you also the best, and all the Melbourners as well.
Great. Thanks, Raffaele. So I really appreciate it. Great to chat. So there you've had Raffaele Sellaro from NYC Global Logistics, and they're an amazing Australia-wide freight forwarder. And as you've just heard, their level of customer service, the level of communication is unmatched, and recommend that you get in touch with anything you need to look after your freight forwarding, customs clearance or distribution around the country. So stick around after the break. We'll be coming back after these short messages. Take care.
With over 20 years of combined recruitment experience, Bastion is your trusted advisor for sourcing leaders. Technical experts in supply chain recruitment, Bastion uses a proven customer-focused delivery. Speak to a consultant today for your recruitment needs. Bastion, experts in sourcing leaders that deliver change.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Trade Australia. We've just heard from Raffaele Sellaro from NYC Logistics, and prior to that, George Hadjiyannakis from GDA. To wrap up today's show, I've been joined in studio by Darren Whitaker from NGS Direct. Darren, great to see you, mate. Thanks for coming to studio.
Thanks for having me again. Great to be here.
Mate, Darren, what you offer with NGS Direct is so important now because companies' whole supply chain sourcing has been literally, thrown into chaos over the last through 2020. So, can you tell us first about NGS Direct and what you do?
We're effectively an end-to-end sourcing products and component sourcing business. We do basically pinch hit various portions of that supply chain, but more often than not, the relationship with our customers gravitates into anywhere from product development to sourcing the best factories, doing quality control, handling all their importation of the product and supplying to them, say for our Australian customers in Australian dollars, delivered to your door, plus GST, fully insured, so that just like they're buying from a local business.
Yeah, I think that's really valuable because so much dependency, as we've seen, not just within Australia, but around the globe, on China as their sourcing. And you know, when everything went into lockdown with Wuhan, the whole China production, all those factories just stopped. Everyone panicked, and there was a whole supply chain risk that emerged that people are just taken for granted that they're always going to have a product from that one country. So there's a whole diversity that people need to look for. Have you experienced companies who were all doing China sourcing and said, look, Darren, I need to look at other alternatives?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we don't just source for Australian businesses. Particularly importing products into the US has been a notable point with regard to China. There's been some significant restrictions imposed on various industries from importing from China.
Yep.
So we've also signed a supply agreement with a Malaysian company. We've offered one product out of Korea, another one out of China. Obviously, depending on the product mix, there is a lot of concern out there from customers that wanting to have a diverse range of options, and that's an area that we're very good at offering to our customers. We were when coronavirus first hit, we were able to redirect some orders quite quickly from China to India. Obviously, India's in lockdown now. We're back to China, and but we can certainly be very nimble in regard to that, and companies that are doing their own procurement, it's very much more difficult for them to have that diversity.
Yeah. So tell me about the industry sectors, because you do a whole range of diverse stuff. I know you've been doing the PPE stuff here with high quality. You do industrial. You do restaurant. Yeah, you do a whole range of diverse sourcing, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we don't pretend to be an expert in any product range or industry. What we do is leverage very much off our customers' expertise, and where needed, external expertise as well. We have dozens of highly qualified QC companies around the world which we use and we have very good relationships with. So whatever is required to get a high quality product to our customer, we go through that process. Yeah.
Well, what you've just touched on there, Darren, is really so much more important now because you can't travel. So your network of hands and feet on the ground around the world, even the companies who were sending over their buyers and doing their own inspects, you just can't do it anymore. And that could be for the next 6, 12, maybe even longer months. So, to have a trusted local contact with your network, that provides a whole range of other possibilities and continued solutions. Yeah,
absolutely. Look, historically, I'd personally go to Asia around 6 times a year. It's not necessarily needed. It's basically maintaining relationships, but we've been able to transition very seamlessly into using either third parties or trusted partners over there to go through that process, and we haven't been let down once. So
great. Fantastic. What are the tips and advice you'd give to companies who are sort of really struggling with alternative markets or even a broader supply mix? Because that's one of the things that we've heard with our network through ATLC is that companies, they say, okay, we don't want to lose or burn that one supplier, but we need to have backup plans A, B, C. Is that something you've sort of experienced as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It very much depends on the product type, on how easy that is, whether there's quite an elaborate amount of tooling or look, if there are some products, for example, that would gravitate towards China, like say an elaborate solar system with batteries and LED lights and so on, something like that would be very difficult to shift away. If you were to say get your solar panels from Malaysia, for example, you may still have to get your LEDs from Taiwan or from China. So when it's in China, there are significant both cost and lead time savings because everything's so central. And if there's a particular connector you like, it's very easy for someone to even go to a local market to buy a significant volume of those connectors with a one-day lead time, as opposed to having to manufacture that entire system, say in Vietnam or Malaysia, where they would still have to find a tier 2 factory to supply them.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think of that, but that consolidation capability, or even possibly even using the free trade zones in certain markets as well, could be coming into play as you get more component-based sourcing versus end product sourcing.
Yes, yeah, correct.
Yeah, wow. Okay, yeah, it's great insight into that, because again, from the Australian side or importer side, they have to start to redesign their supply chain. And working with someone like yourself to say, well, here's some options for you to look at, it just provides a whole range of other flexibility that they may not have thought of before.
Yeah, and the added benefit for outsourcing to a company like NGS is we are an Australian trusted trader.
Yeah.
So that gives us significant benefits. It's just top of the pile processing at customs, priority at quarantine, and obviously some other benefits that are available. So.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that. I know the trusted trader for a sourcing company, it's a big tick of approval, because that's they're not easy to get the trusted trader accreditation. So congratulations, Darren, on that.
Yeah, thank you. Looking through the list, there's not much competition in there for us in that space. Although there's some very large companies that do their own sourcing, such as the supermarket chains and whatnot. But it was quite a coup for us.
Yeah. So what do you see emerging as we come out of this COVID norm, this new age of COVID norm? Especially here in Victoria, companies are still waiting to get back to full capacity and retail sales and things like that. What's your sort of feeling of how things will emerge over the last few months of 2020 and going forward in 2021?
I think there was a push for different things, such as modern slavery, compliance and environmental compliance. These things, I think, short term have maybe been put on the back burner, or people are just trying to survive. Yeah. But the groundswell is happening. The Modern Slavery Act's been put in place, and now there is a requirement, the due diligence process that businesses have to go through now. Yeah. So I think those things will have to be addressed, whether people like it or not. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the increase of burden on compliance and audits and validations are all, not just in Australia, but around the world, are really ramping up. And COVID itself has exacerbated that as well. As you said, they've slowed down some reporting requirements because they've cut a bit of slack, if you like, for 2020. But moving forward, it's actually ramping up a whole range of compliance that is very hard to navigate for companies who that's not their forte. They need to, again, work with partners who can support that.
Yeah, product sourcing has evolved into an industry no different to other financial services, where you do need the advice, whether it be consulting or to outsource to them, because there is so much due diligence required. There's so many more pitfalls than there used to be. It's no different now to doing your tax return yourself or going to an accountant. Yeah. And if you're a legitimate business, it's not many can do their full tax reporting themselves.
Yeah. So it's a great analogy. I think it's a great way of saying you've got expertise in a real niche field, and you want to tap into that expertise to get the best value out of it.
Yeah.
Right. So what's the best way, Darren, for people to get in touch with you?
Best way is to hit up our website. It's ngsdirect.com.
Great, fantastic, mate. Always great to see you, and hopefully we can catch up somewhere for a beer in Victoria before Christmas. Yep. But thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing and imparting that knowledge and advice to the rest of the viewers as well.
My pleasure. I should also mention that NGS is now the authorised licensee of Azola Certified, which any businesses out there that do need to make a modern slavery statement or are concerned about environmental issues, we can audit your factory and we can certify your product. Yep. Have a consumer-facing element where your consumers or your B2B customers can search for that product. You can use our branding and check the certification on the database.
Great. Yeah, look, that's a growing thing, and that whole compliance factor around modern slavery, they have to look at smart solutions. So congratulations on the Zola stuff as well.
Yeah, thanks. ZolaCertified.com for anyone that's interested.
Great. All right. Thanks, Darren. Well, there you have it. Hopefully you found today's episode informative and educational, and gives you a whole range of insights from experts such as Darren, George and Raphael around the current dynamic around freight, logistics, labour and sourcing as well. So it's been a great episode. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to seeing you again on our next episode next week. Take care. Cheers.
With over 20 years of combined recruitment experience, Bastion is your trusted advisor for sourcing leaders. Technical experts in supply chain recruitment, Bastion uses a proven customer-focused delivery. Speak to a consultant today for your recruitment needs. Bastion, experts in sourcing leaders that deliver change.